Hello! In this video I'm gonna show you how I would make a little tool, a little shelf tool that can be handy in certain circumstances. For example, if you made a whole scene and you had some file caches or some images for textures or I don't know what, all kinds of external files, and you decide to move your whole scene to another location, for example, because you want to render over a farm and you used to work only on your local hard drive on C, for example, then you have to move everything over, and instead of going through your whole scene and searching every single place where you might have used a file cache or some external files, you can change the location of every single node in your scene, all with the click of one button. And to do this, I'm going to make a new shelf first, and this new shelf I'm gonna give this a nice little name, my own shelf, my own shelf, and I'm going to save this not in the default shelf but in my own own shelf, which gets saved in your documents folder, Houdini 20 toolbar. So if I click apply and I say accept, then I will have a whole new shelf over here that I can use, and I can right click here and say make a new tool, and the tool here gets saved into my shelf, not in this one. I'm going to have to say my own shelf. And the tool that I'm going to make here is I'm going to call this replace files or something like that. Replace files. And if I say apply, I've got my own tool here. The default icon is the Plasma app, which is this H. I don't really like that. I want to change it, so I'm going to go to icon here, svg icons.index, and here there are really a lot of icons that you can choose from. I already found one that I like. It's one from the lobs, and let me see where it is. Lobs, here, lobs modify paths. This is the one I like, so I'm going to use this one. And I'm going to say apply, and I've got a nice little icon. And what am I going to do in here? Well, there's some script in here, some possibilities to do some Python script, and this is what I'm going to do. First, to test if this works, I'm going to say print, and in here I'm going to say this is working. I'm going to say apply, and then if I push the button, I get this Houdini console popping up with this is working. Well, I do not want every time that I print something to go into the Houdini console. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up my Python shell over here. I can clear and close this, and while this Python shell is open, if I do this here now, I get feedback here in the Python shell. So that's step one. The next thing that I want to do is to be able to replace something, I'm going to have to use or ask the user, to tell me what he wants to search for and what he wants to replace it for. So I'm going to have to need to get some input from the user. To do this, I can go into my Houdini documentation. I've already had it here. But okay, in the documentation of Houdini, there is the possibility to go into Python scripting. Where is it? Python scripting over here. And then we go into the reference of the Who module. And here we could search for Who.ui somewhere in the bottom. There's UI here. Let me see where it is. Well, this is taking longer than I like, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in who.ui, and then I'm just going to go here, and voila, here I am. The one that I need, the one that I'm interested in, is the scripted UI over here, because I want to ask the user for some input. And I can use this one, read input. but I don't want to use one input only. I want to have multiple inputs. So I'm going to use the read multiple input. So I can click on this and then I get a whole explanation of what this is. This pops up a small window with a text box and waits for the user to enter text into several input fields. Exactly what I want. So I'm going to copy this whole thing. I'm going to say copy and go back here. And instead of the print, I'm going to say, I'm going to paste this in here. Well, first of all, everything in the back here, I don't need this after this arrow, because I already know that what it's going to give me back is first an integer and then a tuple of strings. If you don't know what this means, don't worry, we'll get to this later. But I'm going to delete this because I don't need this. And this is part of the who.ui module. So I'm going to put who.ui in front of it. And the feedback that, or the input that the user gives, I want to store that into something. So what I'm going to store that into, I'm going to give that a name. I'm going to call it input equals, and then we're going to get who.ui read multi-input, and then I'm going to have to change everything that's in here because it's got a lot of parameters here. First is the message. The message, as it's written here, is actually a string, so I'm going to call this for now my message, so we can see later what it is. Then the input labels. If I go back to this one, we click on this input labels. It says a sequence of labels to appear in front of each input field. So that means a sequence. That means that I'm going to have to use these and say this one and this one. I need two. I need first a find and then a replace, or search and replace. Let's call it search and replace. Then the next one, password input indices, is any of those fields a password, so that it converts it to little asterisks if you fill it in. Nope, it's not, so I can delete it. Then buttons. I only have one button for now, but I'm gonna have to make another one, so I'm gonna put another button in here and I'm going to call it cancel. Then after that, it's the severity. How much do you want Houdini to panic? Well, I don't want it to panic at all because it's just a message for the user. So I can leave this as message. There is multiple options here to make it a very important warning and those kind of things. It gets different icons, and there's even one, I don't remember the name of it, but if you use that one, then after you say okay, it's a fatal one or something like that, then the whole instance of Houdini will shut down. So you don't want that, so we're just going to keep this as message. The default choice will be 0. That means the 0 or first button. So that's that's the default choice. That's what we're going to use. And the close choice, it's set to -1, but I'm going to call this, put this to 1. And this one, what this does is, if I close the window that pops up, then by either pushing escape or just the little X on the top, this X here, then it will use cancel actually, as that's the choice number 1, as what's given back to the system. Help. I don't have any help, so I'm not gonna do that. Title. That is what's in here at the top of the user interface. Here it's edit tool 2, but here I'm gonna call this one something else. It's gonna be a string as well. So I'm gonna call this replace files or something like that. And then the final one, initial contents. We don't want anything in those fields in the beginning, so I'm gonna remove those. I'm gonna say apply, and now if I push this button, yes, voila, this is what we got. We got a user interface with my message, that's this text here, a search and a replace value over here, and or input field, sorry, and 2 buttons, an OK and a cancel. It's exactly what I want. And we got this possibility of closing it, of saying OK, we can fill stuff in here, and that's it. So the next thing that I want to do now is, well, first my message. I don't like that. I want this to be a little bit more descriptive. So tell me what to look for example. Something like that. And And finally, I want to print input, because I want to be able to see what the user gives back. So I'm going to say apply. I'm going to push this again, and I'm going to fill something in. Search what now, and if I push OK, voila, this is what I get back. 0, which means that the user pushed the first button, the OK button, and what was filled in is what and now. Okay, so I know that something is given back, so that's cool. But I can also test for now to see what else happens if, for example, I push cancel. If I push cancel, the 0 becomes a 1. So that means that not the OK button, not the first button, but the second button was pushed. If I just close it, then it also gives back 1. That's because here I said the closed choice equals 1. So what I can do now is make make the script in such a way that I'm going to check first if this input is 0 or not. So I'm going to say if in between brackets input and then the first element of input, so it's this one. If this one equals 0, then I can do something. And what do you want me to do? Then I want to print something else. I do not want to print the whole input. I want to print input 1. So first I'm checking the input 0. That was the first integer. This is what I'm checking. If this is 0, then I want to know what the user gave, for what kind of input the user gave. So I'm going to say apply again, and here enter. Voila, I'm going to say this and that. If I say OK, voila. So this is exactly what I want, because I'm printing now the input of the user, which is this and that. So there's actually two, because I have two input fields, there's two things in here that come back. So the replace, I'm going to store that, and equals input, and then the first one, oh, that's not a O but a 0, and then oh sorry, that was the find, no, the search, sorry, the search, and then the other one is the replace equals, and I'm going to copy this, but it's the first one. So now if I say print search, and then print replace, then if everything goes well, I can first, this is the first input, second input, okay, voila. So this is my search, and this is my replace. So this part is done. So the next thing that I want to do is instead of getting the feedback from the user, I want to go through everything in my whole scene. So yeah, maybe I'll split this into a new video. Yeah, I'll split this into multiple parts, that's better. So I'll see you in the next video.